Jay, how do you see you guys starting to kind of approach the quarterback situation this offseason? Obviously, don't know what's up with Alex. So how are you guys approaching it as far as possibly bringing in someone, whether through free agency or in the draft?
Yeah, I think we have to obviously address the situation via free agency and probably the draft for sure. So right now, Colt's the only guy we have on the roster. Alex recovering from his injury. We don't know exactly the timetable he'll be back, but knowing Alex, it'll be sooner than everybody thinks. But we also have to address the spot with number 3 and number 4. Josh is a free agent. Obviously, Sanchez is a free agent. So moving forward, we have to address it in draft or free agency.
Is Josh a guy you guys would like to bring back?
I like Josh. Yeah, I think he hurt his ankle a little bit, and he's still recovering from that. But there's a possibility. We're talking to his agent, and possibility he does come back. Yes.
Do you anticipate using the number 15 pick on a quarterback?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a possibility for sure we could use it on the quarterback. But I mean, this is still very, very early. We got to get to know all the quarterbacks first. We're not just going to say we have to take a quarterback. We have to actually like the quarterback we're taking if we go that route. So there's a lot of situations still to be played out. If we get a quarterback in free agency, that could affect our 15th pick for sure. But a lot of great options out there. We're just starting to talk about all of them.
How big of a priority do you feel it is to get a free agent quarterback to come in and compete with Colt for the starting job?
It'll be important. Get somebody in here for sure. I mean, right now with Alex's injury, and he's not going to be able to throw during OTAs or anything, we need somebody to throw the ball other than Colt. So we'll get somebody in here.
Are you looking for a guy who can compete to start, or are you more looking to address depth?
Always looking for competition, for sure. Colt had a great opportunity last year when Alex went down. Unfortunately, he got hurt. But everybody knows that the organization feels very good about Colt if he's the starter. But competition is very good, especially at the quarterback position.
What is the latest on Alex?
He's just recovering. He's in his normal process of trying to get back. I think he's putting some weight on his leg right now, and he's approaching the rehab the way he will, first class.
Would you fear the idea of having to start a rookie quarterback?
Would I fear it?
No. In terms of the development and
yeah, like I said before, Colt's our quarterback right now as long as Alex is still recovering. If we draft a quarterback, we feel great about him. No, I would not feel. I would have no problem starting a rookie quarterback.
Do you prefer to go free agent, veteran, somebody that can come in right away, or do you want to go with a rookie, somebody you can groom?
It just depends on the situation and the person, really. I mean, there's some good options in free agency. Something's going to happen. There'll be some guys that are going to be traded or let go also. You have to take into account. And then, of course, there's some good young prospects in this draft that I've had the ability to look at just briefly getting ready for this thing. So there's a lot of great options out there. Starts with Colt right now, and then obviously waiting on to see how Alex does. But something we'll have to address.
One thing with drafting a rookie quarterback, patience is involved. It's not necessarily a next year fix. What's the level of patience / urgency you consider? You guys haven't made the playoffs now in 3 straight years.
Well, there's always urgency for sure. And when you draft a rookie quarterback, if you draft a rookie quarterback and you expect him to play or sit a year or whatever, the time of development is you don't have a lot of time. You expect these guys to play. If you're going to invest a lot of a draft pick in these guys, they should come in and play and be ready to play. You're drafting them for a reason, not to hold a clipboard. So we'll see what happens. But the urgency is always great here in D.C. without a doubt, and that'll never change.
How would you feel about using some of your draft picks to move up in order to take a guy that you do fall in love with or like?
Oh, that's way early right now. I didn't even know. There's a lot of great players in this draft. There's some really good offensive linemen. There's some really good linebackers. There's some good corners, some receivers that can really run, and they're huge. So there's a lot of great options out there in the draft.
Jay, would you say that those are the positions that you guys are looking at, the cornerback, safeties, linebackers, are those positions of need?
You just named every position on defense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What positions are you guys looking at to help to fill some holes with the team this year?
Well, obviously, safety's a major priority for us, I would think. HaHa's a free agent, and we have Everett, and obviously Apke coming back from his injury, and Monte. But we probably need to get another guy, whether it's HaHa or whatever, or free agent or draft pick. But linebacker, inside linebackers, an issue. Pass rusher with Preston being a free agent is obviously a priority for us, without a doubt. Offensive lineman, we already know that that's a priority. We know the quarterback's an issue. We know the receiver's an issue. So we need to upgrade our entire roster. We're going to add players to every position, add competition. That's what's going to make us good. We have a core nucleus of players I feel great about, without a doubt. But adding players to every position is critical to your franchise's success.
What are your early thoughts on this quarterback class from what you've seen?
Early thoughts, I've only done 5 of them, really, and they're all talented, really. They'll have arm talent, escapability, fun to watch, really, very productive. So I'll be anxious to see them throw out here just live, and then you get a chance to see them at the pro day and possibly another time throughout the process, get a chance to meet them and see where they're at.
You're talking about the idea of falling in love with quarterbacks. I mean, do you have like a group maybe of this draft class and also of guys who potentially are available as veterans that you kind of like, you know already in your mind, you've kind of ranked them? Or
Yeah, well, free agents, I've spent more time on the free agent guys than I have the draft guys, because we just, obviously got here, and the guys we're interviewing is the guys that I've spent time on. So there's a whole another group of quarterbacks that I haven't seen yet in the draft, so I'm anxious to see them also. But free agent-wise, we spent some time on, got a chance to watch a lot of them and talk about them, and, we'll talk about it later.
do you like any of them?
Yeah, there's good players everywhere. Yeah, I like them all. I like everybody.
You
You know me.
You mentioned pass rush as a priority. You mentioned Preston Smith. Where do things stand with him right now? As we've heard, there hadn't been too much movement there.
Yeah, I think Preston, he's earned the right to be a free agent. He's had a good 4 years with us. I love Preston, what he can bring to this football team, both stop and run and playing the pass. So he's going to demand some attention, and I think he will look at all his options. We'd love to have him back for sure. But I don't know where we are money-wise with him and his agent at this time.
Have you talked to Bruce about how much money you guys can allocate to the QB position if you guys bring somebody in free agency? Just because Alex has such a high number, it's kind of a tricky balance there.
Yeah, for sure. That's tricky. No doubt about it. That is an issue, and that's something Eric Schaefer and Bruce deal with. They're the money masters. I'm just the talent advisor, so to speak. I just give my recommendations. They work out the details, and I think we'll be fine.
Do you think you're going to need to make some maybe difficult decisions on some veterans to clear a little bit of space?
I think any off-season, you're going to have to make difficult decisions. You can't keep your team together forever. There's going to be guys that you really have a lot of respect for that have done great for the organization that you're going to have to make moves on eventually. It's just every team has to do it. It's just part of the business. So, yes, there will be moves made, but which ones yet, we'll see.
Ultimately, you guys have had massive injury issues the last couple of years, and that could be pointed to as a huge reason why you haven't made the playoffs. So as you've reviewed again your process and all that kind of stuff, have you guys found anything that can hopefully keep your team healthy moving forward?
No. We're trying to. I think the key thing is getting the guys back from injuries as soon as we can. That's all we can do. But avoiding the injuries, the blown out knee, the torn pec, we're talking about it. We're trying to figure it out. We're not the only team that went through it. There are other teams that had multiple injuries as well. But usually the teams that advance far in the playoffs and do well don't have that many injuries. So taking care of the guys in the offseason, we're going to try to do a better job. Our strength and conditioning staff is excellent. Training staff I feel great about. We've had some bad luck.
Jay, how tough is that when you're trying to analyze free agents to re-sign, especially looking at Jamison Crowder, Trey Quinn, even that dynamic, and really trying to figure out what you want to bring back for the team?
With the injuries? Yeah, it's hard. I don't even know during OTAs if we're going to have any linemen. I think the majority of them are going to be recovering from injury, and they'll probably have to do a lot of 7-on-7. But, it's hard. It's the OTA is a great time for these guys to develop and work on their skill set and get stronger. A lot of guys are going to be still recovering and rehabbing and off the field. So we'll probably have to wait till training camp to really get a good evaluation on these guys.
Speaking of the torn pec, is extending Brandon a priority? Just considering before going into last year and letting him,
Yeah, for sure. Brandon is a great player, without a doubt. And I don't know if anybody really understands the effect that he has on our team when he's not playing. The ability to run some of these down pull games and the screen game is non-existent without him. So he is definitely a priority. We'll get him done.
You mentioned in the context of possibly having to let some guys go because for salary cap reasons. You mentioned inside linebacker is a need area. Is that an indication of just you want better than what you have there, or that Zach Brown, as many have speculated, won't be back?
Oh, no. I just named a lot of positions there. I just feel like, obviously defensively, we kind of tapered off towards the end of the season for whatever reason. And obviously we feel really good about the young nucleus of defensive linemen that we have. But when you talk about, critical free agents like Preston and you probably have to address the linebacker position in general. So, there's no indication yet as far as what we're going to do with Zach, what Ruben's situation will be like. We're still waiting to hear from the commissioner there. So it's just a position we'll probably have to add another player.
What about with turnover in terms of your assistant coaches? Was that by design, and how will that affect the team this year?
Well, I think part of it was by design, yeah, for sure. And I think defensively, I wanted to add some experience there to help Coach Minuski. Without a doubt, somebody who's actually called defenses, and we added 2 great ones. Ray Horton's an excellent coach. He's called defenses for many years. He's going to help in the back end tremendously. And obviously, Rob Ryan has been a coordinator for sure, a couple different places. Got great energy. He's going to be great for that inside backer room. So I'm excited about those 2 hires right there. And then offensively, hiring Angelico from Green Bay adds us a different element as far as, working with the Packers and their success on offense is a great hire for us. Tim Rattay, quarterback coach, I just felt like I've known Tim for a little bit of time from Tampa. I just felt like his demeanor is perfect for Alex and Colt, and I think they'll mesh very well.
What is it about? Increased role with Kevin O'Connell look like for you, play calling, off game planning, all that stuff?
Yeah, well, Kevin's, obviously a very talented coach, and I think people understand that. So we were getting some nibbles out there to try to get him interviewed for coordinator. I wanted to make sure we kept him here, so I put him in the coordinator role. Coach Cavanaugh is going to be my assistant as far as helping me with the big picture of things. There's a lot of things that I may have swept under the rug, so to speak. I didn't have quite time for, but I think the attention to detail that we need throughout the week, I think Coach Cavanaugh helped me out a lot, not only during the week in the off season, but also on game day.
That's a lot of chefs in the kitchen. Is that a good thing? Do you anticipate maybe?
Yeah, I think if you look around the league nowadays, there's more and more chefs. But I think ideas are great. I think when you sit down and talk about putting a plan together, off season, during the season, during the week, short weeks, I think the more people you have with ideas, the better you can function.
Why was former play caller a characteristic you wanted to add to your defensive staff?
Experience. There's nothing against the guys that we had here. They were young, but I just felt like somebody who's been through the fire, called defenses, understands both the front end and the back end, I think can be a big benefit to Coach Minuski.
You spent a lot of time, it felt like, looking for a quarterback coach. I mean, it's probably an important one. I mean, what was it about Tim that ultimately you settled on, and why, over other guys?
Boy, I had a lot of good interviews with a lot of good coaches, and really could have gone a lot of different ways. But I think at the end of the day, I chose Tim. Like I said, I've known him from when he was a player at Tampa Bay, and he's been in college the last 6-7 years at Louisiana Tech. But I just thought the personality match was a good one.
Is there any issue with the idea of going from college to pro, or do you, is that
no, and I think a lot of it too is he can come in here and he's going to learn kind of what we're teaching like a quarterback, and then he's going to be able to evolve and teach it and learn how we're doing things, and then add to what we're doing with his ideas that he's learned from when he's a player and a coach at La Tech.
How's Darius Geis coming along on Instagram? He looks like a Pro Bowler.
Yeah, Instagram. He's an Instagram star. You guys, he's great, man. He's young, strong, hungry. So he's gonna be fine. This is an injury that he will overcome for sure, and he's gonna be a dynamic player when it's all said and done.
Do you think he'll be full go in the OTAs, or will you?
Yeah, so I'll wait on Larry Hess for all that, but I would probably err on the side of training camp. But I think there'll be some drills he'll be able to do on the side and get him ready to go.
Have you guys talked with Adrian, or have those talks progressed at all?
I don't know. I think we have talked with Adrian and Adrian's agent, so those talks are talks right now. This free agent process, you know how it is. I mean, everybody wants more. We want, we're trying to get the deal the agent want. It's a process. It's a negotiating deal, and deals won't get done until you can get them done officially on paper.
At this point today, how close is this team, do you think? With this roster right now where you are?
Well, I feel good about the nucleus. I always have. I've said that before. Obviously, the quarterback issue is the most important position in sports. If Alex can come back, great. If he can't come back, I feel great about Colt, but we have to address the situation a little bit. But Offensive line, like I said, we have to address a little bit with the injuries, but I feel really good about the core nucleus of players that we have moving forward.
At what point does the if Alex can come back question become a hindrance for you? At what point are you just planning on Colt and someone else?
Yeah, I think that's a great question because we're I don't know. I don't know what to say to that. I don't know the rehab process. This is an injury that is a tough one to overcome for sure. But you also don't know Alex and what he can do with his mind and what he can overcome. So it's a combination of things. Will he be ready next year or the year? I don't know. We're just going to play it by ear. But I do know moving forward in OTAs and training camp, we're going to get Colt ready to go and whoever else we have.
Has
Is
that
that kind of the
surprised
hardest-
you a little bit in the last few weeks? Is there something that makes you maybe feel a little more optimistic?
No, I just know Alex. I mean, yeah, just he's the type of guy that's going to put everything into it to getting well, and he's strong. You know, he's in great shape, obviously. So, got a great family, great support system, and he'll do everything he can to get ready.
Is that the hardest part, though, is that you still are at a point, however many months it's been, that you don't have a timeline?
Yeah, that's hard, and this is new to everybody. So, we just got to wait and see. But I know that having a veteran guy like that, when he's ready, he'll be ready, and it won't take a lot of time where he has to go out there and throw and all that stuff. But he'll get himself ready to go when he's ready. So we'll go.
Monte, and do you expect to have him back on the active roster?
Yeah, I expect so. So I know he's on a roster right now, and we'll have to wait and see.
Jay, has the league given you any timeline for Reuben Foster, and just does it at all affect how you guys play the inside linebacker position, not knowing whether he will be able to play with you guys or he won't be able to?
Yeah, that's we're just waiting. You know, like I said, he's still on the commissioner's exempt list, I guess. So we'll wait and see what they have in store for him. But it does have an impact, and it will have an impact for sure, whether he's playing or not.
What is it about Colt that makes you so confident that he can win games as a starter? His record isn't that great, and he's been injured a lot.
Yeah, he has, and it's really good for you to notice that. But I've been around him for 5 years, and I could be, really ignorant. I just seen him throw the ball for 5 years in the off season and training camp. I know that he's been fired up to get an opportunity. When we finally got one, it's like letting an animal out of the cage. He ran right into the wall, got hurt, and he just got to slow down the process, which he will. But I have total confidence. He's got a great knowledge of the system. He's comfortable with the guys that we have. He's a great leader, great competitor. He can run, he can move, and he can make all the throws. So, but he's been hurt and hasn't done it, like you said.
How are some of the guys besides Alex coming along? Just the injured, like Paul Richardson, Brandon, and
Yeah, they're all coming along just fine. Paul's doing great. I think he'll be up and running here in no time. Obviously, Brandon, he's gonna rehab, and he'll be fine by training camp, I would think.
do you expect anyone back for the spring?
Not really, no. I'm not expecting anything. I'll just wait till I hear from the trainers.
What were your conversations like with Greg in the immediate aftermath of the season? Because you wound up bringing in some guys who were defensive coordinator candidates, and obviously he never wound up losing that job. So what were the conversations like to ensure that he knew where he stood as you went through that process?
Yeah, I think anytime you have a season like we had, I think you have to let coaches know, and you have to go through the process. You're going to talk to different people. You're going to try to upgrade your staff. Obviously, you're going to try to upgrade your team. So we're going to talk to as many candidates as we could that we thought would make our team better. And we came up with, obviously, the guys that we came up with. So it's just the way it is.
With regards to Adrian, obviously last year you didn't have him and Geis at the same time. With him, Geis, and Chris Thompson, from typically one of those guys that's going to play teams, how do you foresee that being any kind of issue, or if that's your top three, you just address special teams elsewhere?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's something you have to figure out on game day if everything works out, if all three of them are actually healthy if we have them all on the roster. This is a situation we're kind of guessing on, but you'd like one of your backs to be able to participate on special teams some way, somehow. So, we'll figure that out.
You mentioned Josh Johnson's ankle before. Did he need surgery for that?
No, he's getting looked at again. He just has a little bit of pain in there, but I think he'll be fine.
Did
Big
Trent
story.
surgery?
Sorry, man.
Did Trent Williams have surgery?
Surgery?
He posted something on Instagram that looked like surgery.
Yeah, he had a procedure done to his scalp.
Oh, okay.
Yes, he'll be fine.
The big story this morning was Kyler Murray's measurables. In your eyes, as an evaluator, how much does it matter that he came in at 5'10", 9.5-inch hands?
Yeah.
How much emphasis do you put on that?
I think, there's in the past there would be some major questions about his size, but I think Russell Wilson has put an end to all that with his ability to escape and throw the ball from the pocket, outside the pocket. And when you watch Kyler play on tape, I don't think there's any concern about his height. He can make every throw from in the pocket, outside the pocket. He's going to run extremely fast. He's probably 4.3, 4.4 guy. So very exciting young player that's going to be an excellent NFL quarterback.
Knowing what it takes to play quarterback in the NFL, what do you make of his decision to kind of decide late to play football versus the baseball thing? Because it's pretty unique that a guy has that kind of opportunity.
Yeah, he's probably looking at Bryce Harper's contract and saying maybe I should play baseball. So I don't know. That's a big decision. I mean, I'm sure he's put a lot of time and effort in becoming a great baseball player as well as a great football player, and it's not easy to stop playing a sport that you're passionate about. Wouldn't surprise he could probably do both, but just a tough decision. But he's a great player.
As a former baseball player who became a quarterback, I mean, is there something to being a ball player and then playing football too? Is it a good or a bad? Is there a positive or negative in any of that?
Well, it's positive. Anytime you're competing and playing, I think it's a positive. There's not a negative that I can think of playing another sport other than the risk of getting injured. But when you're talking about this level, you have to put a lot of time and effort to get yourself ready to play at the quarterback position. If you're a corner, you could probably do both. You know what I mean? Like Dion or Bo did at running back. But as a quarterback, it's very difficult because you have to put a lot of time and effort in the off season and the regular season to get yourself mentally and physically ready to play.
Was Trent's injury or procedure related to the season at all, or is that something that he
No, it was just an individual thing with this.
What's the biggest difference in evaluating quarterback prospects versus every other position this week when you're in the hotel room just watching them?
Yeah, I think the big thing is the ones you get to interview. You get 15 minutes. You try to spend some extra time with them, but then you watch how they throw the ball. Obviously, watch them go through their workouts, but see how the ball comes out of their hand, how they're working with other players. You go back and watch it again, then you go back and watch your pro day, watch all their games the last year, 2 or 3 that they played. Bring them in for another visit, maybe go see them for another visit, and then try to make your determination.
You mentioned receiver as a need. Obviously, Jameson's a free agent. Josh Dotson's production has been spotty over his career so far. When you think receiver, is there some particular aspect that you think you guys maybe need to add?
Yeah, that's I think we added Paul Richardson last year for that speed type reasons, and with him coming back, I think is a huge asset for us. So hopefully we get him back. Obviously, Josh, a lot of the receivers' production went down when all the quarterbacks got hurt, but we have Josh, obviously, with Jameson being a free agent. Feel great about Trey Quinn's progress last year, even though he got hurt a little bit. We have some other guys in-house we're excited about. So, but if you're talking about that position, you're probably looking for a bigger guy, maybe that can, flanker type guy.
When you talk about Colt needing to dial it down a little bit, maybe, and you say you think you can do it, I mean, what makes you think that?
Well, he's such a great competitor. He wants every play to work. Sometimes the plays aren't there. You just got to throw away, live to fight another day. The play he actually got hurt on, the play was dead. He tried to scramble, cut up field, and he slipped, and his leg hit the other kid's leg, and he's out. So it's not a fault. That's part of the reason you love a guy like Cole on your team, because of the great competitiveness. But I just hope he tones it down just a little bit and throws it away from time to time.
Can he? I mean, is that the?
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, he hasn't so far. He's a stubborn guy, man. He's a stubborn guy.
Can you explain the interview process a bit? Are you leading that? How many coaches are in there with you, front office folks?
Yeah, we have the position coach and the coordinator, whatever side of the ball it is. Obviously, Bruce and whoever else is there, the scout that scouts that area. Kyle's in there, Doug Williams in there, and then we ask them questions based on the history of their life, whether there's some how they graduate, what they graduate in, and personal questions here and there. But for the most part, I make a tape on each guy, about a 25, 30 play tape. I only get through about 5 of them, and just talk some ball. I want to hear what they remember about their season, their last season, and the knowledge of the game of football.
What impresses you in an interview with a situation like that? What would make a guy stand out to you with 15 minutes to talk?
Oh man, there's a lot, really. I mean, it's exciting. These guys so far, have been outstanding. Just their recall for the formation of play, what happened on that particular play before I even showed it. The quarterbacks are outstanding that we've had so far, and offensive linemen, exciting. And they're all unique, and they're all fun to talk to.
What kills a guy for you?
I think there's been a couple in the past that have kill themselves in these 15-minute interviews. Not many. It's hard to do.
What does it for you? I mean, what?
I just think, I think not owning up to certain things that have happened in their life, not taking accountability that it's well documented, and then they try to deny it ever happened or what have you. I mean, that might hurt your stock a little bit. That doesn't happen very often.
If you
that last one, Dan, because we got Doug right here. So
Okay.
last one.
if you, from that salary cap perspective again, if you guys were to make a big move, guys like Josh Norman and Vernon Davis would be guys who could be let go. Do you anticipate both of them being back next year?
I anticipate everybody that's on our roster will be on our roster, right? I mean, there's not a chance I could say that there's a good chance we're going to cut this guy or that guy. Everybody's in play here as far as we anticipate everybody coming back. But when you're talking about some needs that we have, there will be some adjustments that we probably have to make on our roster. That's just the way it is. That's the way every team's going to have to approach the off season, and it's no different here. So hopefully we get the majority of our guys back that are under contract, which is why I anticipate will happen. But there probably will be some changes eventually.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Right, here's Doug.
Appreciate it. Thanks. Sure. Thank you. Thank you.
Let's slide in here.
How you doing? All right.
You won the over on that?
So we got to get a guy in here.
How does Kevin O'Connell's experience with some of the college concepts change how you evaluate the quarterback position, knowing that there might be some more carryover for some of these spread offenses?
Judge from talent, what we see, what a guy can do. And we know a lot of offenses today are a read option. So you kind of got to try to put that guy in a position where not he can translate into the National Football League. And if you know, there's a lot of guys that has played in read option that's in this league. So you look at from his talent, athletic ability, his arm strength, ability to move around, get out the huddle, can get the ball from under snap, whatnot they can fit in. I can't sit here and say, okay, Kevin, tell me what you're looking for, because that's not the way we do it. And he's the same way. The offense is one thing. You just look at a guy and you wonder whether or not he can fit in that offense that we're running.
Where does this year's class, Doug, of quarterbacks rank in, say, recent years?
Wow. It's hard to say where they ranked. I don't think it's no really clear-cut guys. Like last year coming out, it's no doubt the kid that the Jets have now stood out like a sore thumb in all of them. I don't know whether the class is as good as the class last year, but that's to be seen in the next 2 or 3 years, because we don't know what that class is going to be at the end of the day. But I think there's a lot of guys in this class that are capable of playing in the National Football League that are very close.
Are you comfortable, if need be, to like one of those guys could be a starter this year? Are you comfortable with that?
Well, that wouldn't be my decision. I think the key here is to pick a guy and see where he fits in once he get to camp, once he get to the OTAs, and once he get to training camp. That would be a decision that has to be made from the coaching side of it, whether or not he can do the job.
But if you're picking in the top half of the draft, obviously there would be an expectation that guy would start pretty soon. I mean, would you be okay with that, or would you prefer to go a different route?
Well, the good part, we're right in the middle of the draft. We ain't not in the top half of the draft. At this point, you want to make sure you got the best people on the field. If the guy we pick is the best guy on the field, you put him on the field, and you're going to play football.
Is there an asset allocation standpoint, is it realistic to think you guys could draft a quarterback high in the draft and also sign a veteran free agent capable of starting?
Well, that's a scenario that we really hadn't talked about. That's probably something that, when we get back to Ashburn, we'll sit down and talk about. A lot of things we're probably going to hash out once we get back. Once this combine is over with and you see what we're working with at all the positions, and then you sit down and look at it from that standpoint and say, hey, let's try to go this way or that way. We don't know any veterans that's going to be out there at this point that you can bring in. I think if we bring a guy in at this stage, it's 9 out of 10 is going to be a young guy that we bring in, and with Colt McCoy coming back, and somewhere somehow we got to find another guy, and whether that's an older guy who's just sitting at home on the couch, a guy that somebody been released or what have you. But as far as trade, I don't know whether we're going to go that route.
So the extra four.
Where you're for the quarterback position, are you looking for a guy that's depth, or do you want somebody to compete with Colt as a starter?
Well, at this point, I think we're looking for somebody who can compete. But we know coming into camp now, Colt is a starter. But I think when you go to training camp, we all got to be realistic. as to who has the best camp preseason, and thing about a situation like that, players. I'm talking about players in the locker room. You know, they kind of let you know who the leader in the pack. That'd be hard to decipher. Wouldn't be hard to decipher because I think players would tell you so and so should be playing. You know, and coaches they understand when the players think a player should be playing. They're gonna have their doubts about it, but at the end of the day, you're gonna try to play the best guy because we have to. We don't have a choice but to play the best guy.
Do those extra 4 picks like change your strategy in the draft at all? Did you guys say maybe we could be more aggressive now that we have the extra 4 picks, or that didn't change your strategy at all?
No, we're not sitting here saying we got extra picks. You know, we're gonna move up. That's not something that we even talked about at this time, man. And you know, we got a lot more needs on this football team than to say, you know, we can give up 2 or 3 picks and say, pick one guy and think we're gonna have a football team that we hope to have. I think we got to use our picks wisely and make sure we get guys that are coming here can help us build this football team a lot better than what it is.
Do you feel there's any pressure to go get a quarterback at 15? I mean, given Alex's situation, given, you know, Colt's getting up there in age as well.
I don't want to say it's pressure, but it all depends. If one's there at 15 that we lack, that's an easy choice to make. But it got to be a guy we're not going to reach for a guy just because we don't have one. You don't just go down and get a guy that we might not have in that area as far as where they are on the board. If there's a quarterback that we have down on the board in 3rd, 4th round, I mean, because we need a quarterback per se, you know, we're not going to just go draft a guy. I don't think you do it that way.
At this point, do you, without going through the whole process yet, do you kind of in your mind have a couple guys that could be fit there at 15 at quarterback?
Mm-hmm. You know, everybody does mock drafts. You know, and you look at all the teams that's in front of you, all the teams that might need one, and you got some teams who got one that might not want the one they have, and they might want to get rid of the one they have and go get another one. So you really don't know what's going to happen. But, we sat around and we talk about who might be there, who might not be there, and if this guy pass on him, if this guy don't draft him. But I think that's what we all do from a mock draft standpoint. You know, we do the same thing. We sit back there and we look at the teams who's in front of them, think about who their quarterbacks are and whether or not they need a quarterback, whether or not they try to trade out for somebody who does need a quarterback. And that you're going to find that's probably what's going to happen to a lot of them.
But at this point, do you think that there's a quarterback you guys could like, or 2 quarterbacks at this time at that spot?
Yeah, there's some guys that we think that has a possibility of being there, but that don't mean they'll be there. I mean, one thing about the National Football League, I think we all realize, this is a quarterback league. And there's a lot of people need quarterbacks, whether they admit it or not, and they got some who have a quarterback who might need another quarterback. So at the end of the day, you don't know where they're going to fall, and you just hope that some of the guys that you do lack that are there when your chances come.
Outside of quarterback, where's the biggest hole on this team? What's your highest priority outside of QB?
You know, the thing about that, JP, we got a lot of places that we can help this football team. Whether or not it's safety, whether or not it's outside rusher, whether or not it's a guard position, whether or not it's inside backer position. I mean, we got a lot of places. I don't know what either one of them say that is your number one priority. I think, you know, it's obvious that we do need a quarterback, but after that, you can go anywhere. As long as we got a player up there on the board that we think fit, we can go either one of those guys first. And we can fill a hole. But the good part about it is some guys on the board, and like you say, we got some picks. So we got enough picks to probably find a guy that can do some things for us in all those positions.
Wide receivers, obviously another spot you guys need to upgrade. But do you just rank the receivers kind of as a whole, or do you do like, all right, this guy's an X, this guy's a Z, this guy's a slot? How do you break down that position, and what are you looking for?
Well, it's obvious. Everybody can't play Z in this offense because Z got a block, and you don't want 175-pound, 6'1" like a Paul Richard. You don't want him at Z. You don't want him going there digging out safety. So, you know, when you pick a guy, if it's a receiver, if it's the best receiver, you know, you just got to find whether or not if he's an X or a Z, you pick the best guy. You don't pick a guy because he's a Z, but he might not be as good as the guy who's the X. So you got to look at it from that standpoint before you go just say picking for a position per se.
And do you guys is there a specific role at receiver that you guys are looking at more than?
No, that's on the scheme side. That's on the coach's side. We, like I say, we pick talent, and they do what they think is best for that guy when they get here.
How do you evaluate the
current receivers on your roster? Obviously, there's been some injuries there. There's been some lack of production from Josh Doxson and that sort of thing. Just how do you address the current group as a whole right now, where it stands?
Well, production goes a lot of ways. Yeah, it goes from pass protection to the quarterback getting it to him, and a lot of other things. So a lot of things can be the reason why we hadn't had the production. I think got some talent. It just hadn't came out. I think we got to do a better job at the receiver spot, but we got to find a way to get it to him. We got to find a way to make sure the quarterback stands up and can get it to him. To sit here and try to evaluate where we are as a receiver, everybody know that, we probably need a little receiver help, but I can't sit here and say exactly how I would grade him at this point.
Have you guys made a decision on Josh Doxson's fifth-year option? Is that something that you guys
On who?
Josh?
No. That's something we'll probably talk about when we go back to the house. At this point, we're here to see the talent and kind of move them. We've already kind of put the board up at this point. But whatever they do here, you kind of move the board up and move it down to find out what they're capable of doing.
What are the lack of depth at safety? Does that make re-signing HaHa a bigger priority, or are you guys kind of willing to almost start over at the position because you would not have either him or DJ?
Well, that'd be just picking a guy because we need one. You got to go back and we evaluate HaHa like we do anybody else. Well, not as a free agent. Do you want to bring him back as a free agent? And with the new coaching staff, we really hadn't sat down with Horton now and talk about exactly what your thinking is on HaHa. All we did was go over the free agents that are out there and kind of gave them the guys that's on the board. Now we got to go back and talk about our free agents.
Have you talked to agents for guys like Preston or Adrian or Crowder, some of those guys?
I think Shafe has had some preliminary conversation with them, and I'm sure while he's here, he's gonna probably run into all those guys, kind of get a feel for them to find out where they are. Because all the guys that are free agent, I'm sure that the agents talk to other teams too. So that's the way it works, to find out what the market is for all those guys.
Are there any similarities, Doug, between the situation you're facing right now with Alex Smith counting $21 million on the cap? We don't know if he's going to play at all. And what you guys had in 2012 and 13 with the cap penalty in terms of building a team where you got a large chunk, 12, 11% of your cap,
I wasn't here then, but I understand where you're coming from. I think the good thing about this whole situation, and nothing really, really good about it, but I still think that we got some good pieces in place that we can pretty much get away with some things because of some of the good young players that we already have here. But the cap situation is what it is, and I heard Jay talking about it. There's no doubt in my mind, sometimes you got to make some tough decisions. What those decisions are now, we don't know. We won't know until we get back. But 9 out of 10, there's going to be some decisions that, some people might like, some people might not like. But whatever we do, we're going to make sure it's the best thing for the football team.
At this point, how close is this team?
Oh, man, the last 2 years, I've always come out of camp thinking that we had a pretty good team. And I say the same thing from last year. Before the catastrophe hit us last year, we were 6-3, and we was in pretty good position, and we still was holding up to the end as far as the opportunity to go to playoff. But I really think that if we was fortunate enough to keep Alex upright, the way Alex played the game and the way the defense was playing, we would have had a chance to go to playoffs. And I think the most important thing here to try to build a competitive football team, which I think we do, just add some pieces to it. And the number one priority is to get out of the season, hopefully number one, healthy, and be in the playoffs. I think that's it. If we can get to that point, I think we got some pieces. And if we add some pieces, I think we're capable.
What's the better track?
Whether, what players on your team that have contracts and possibly getting rid of them to create cap space? What is the timeline for members of the team possibly discussing who they might cut to create some cap space?
Well, we got them to draft time, and the rest of free agents, we at least, when we get out of here, I think free agents started, 13th, somewhere in that neighborhood? 13th. So, it gives us a couple of weeks to go home and soak over it and, look at each other and discuss. Everybody might not be on board with certain things, but you can't make everybody happy.
Getting to the playoffs is the goal. What's the better track in your mind? Getting a veteran quarterback to compete with Colt, or drafting a rookie and turning the keys over?
That's a good question. I think where we are at this point, and like I said earlier, if there's a quarterback there that we like at 15, 9 out of 10, we'll go that route. But if it's not somebody we like, you know, we'll go with Court, and if we got to go out and get a veteran to work with him until that time come, that's probably what we do. But it all boils down to who's there when it's time for us to pick.
Doug, you've been.
Is there a realistic starting left guard candidate currently on the roster, or do you see that being addressed either in draft or free agency?
I think we lost 6 guards last year, and we lost a starter who was Sean Laval, and then we lost every backup that was behind the starters. So that's a tough one to say that was a starting left guard on this football team. I think everybody would say no. I know I would, and I think the coaches and everybody else look at it from that standpoint. But you got to draft. You got to start somebody. So if we got what we have, that starter gonna be there.
Based on the options in the draft or free agency, which of those paths do you see as the more viable one to find that guard?
I don't know, and that boils down to who's there on the board when it's time for us to draft too. You know, we're not opposed to drafting a young guy if it's a guy that we like, and just stick him in there. You know, we did that with a couple of guys, but if not, you know, we got to go out and get a veteran that we think can do the job. We will do that. But I think here we got to get past this situation from the draft standpoint before we get into who's going to be the starter now. Now, free agent in the next couple of weeks, and not only the next couple of weeks, you also got to understand that's a lot of June cuts. That's a lot of guys get cut in June that are out there that can come in here and play. So we don't know what team's going to do, who they're going to let out, and who's going to be out there. We got to deal with what's in the next month or so, March and getting into April. So we got 2 months to try to figure out exactly who's going to be that left guard.
From you, attributes that you would say would make you like guy number 15 in terms of your quarterback position. You guys aren't going to reach for anybody. You're not going to give up your picks. But what would make you like a guy enough to take him at 15 at the quarterback position?
Well, like I say, all of them got something. Every last one of them. I think that we have on the board in the top 4 rounds has something to offer us as a player. You know, I'm not going to sit here and nitpick, you know, what one can do and what the other one can't do. I'm just saying they all got something to offer us that the coaches can get out of them to make sure that they can be successful in the system.
How do you feel about quarterbacks that are, say, under 6 feet tall?
Who you talking about? Do we got one under 6 feet tall in the draft?
Not yet.
Huh?
He's actually 5'10" and 1/8.
Well, you know, it's hard to say how I feel about him because we never had one. So all I know, the only guys I know that Russell Wilson was, I think, a little bit under 6 feet, and he's been pretty successful in this league.
From your perspective, what exactly are the questions that you want to ask these quarterbacks in the room this week and answers that you want to get from them?
I let Jay do that. I sit in the room. We listen to him talk about the personal stuff. And like I said, we kind of get a feel for them, you know, whether or not they got a BS meter or what. But the most important thing is the recall. And you know, we put them on the board, and Jay asks what formation, what the play is, what your thinking is. If you make and Jay, what Jay is good at, he get a couple good plays on the board for him, and then he bring up something bad, and you see the guys immediately say, "Oh, that was a bad situation," and that's good because they realize that they made a mistake, and they can look at that play before it even run through, and they can tell you that they made a mistake, which tell you they got pretty good recall.
With regards to Kyler Murray, obviously we talk about his height. Kyler Murray, we talk about his height.
I don't know Kyler Murray.
How much does? But regardless of for any quarterback, we talk about their height. How much does hand size factor into whatever evaluations you're making with these guys?
You know, they got some little hand quarterbacks that play in this league. You know, I'm not gonna get in the hand side. Everybody's hands wasn't as big as mine or a lot of other guys. You know, you got some 9-inch hands, you got some 8.5-inch hands. I think it's whether or not the guy can put the ball in his hand and spin it. It all depends on how he spin it out of his hand.
You do have giant hands, though.
Oh, they all right.
Thanks, Doug.
All right. Thank y'all, guys.
Thank you, Doug. That was fun.
Hey, all right, Bruce is going to be at the stadium. He said he'll do it after punters and kickers. So they